All right, here we go. Some more Naruto. Oh shit, boy, that's a throwback. First time I've done this. More Boruto. This is episode 24. Three, two, one. Looks like I think I still need to adjust it just a bit. It's always a no. It's there. Always want to make sure I get the maximum amount of screen showing right. Hey, you need something not associated with work. I love work, but you have to avoid burnout. This is that for him. This might be interesting. I can't wait to see who it is. I should have predicted. This could be okay. We've actually got room to predict. Let's see. You think the remember the woman who misinterpreted everything to think that you were shit talking her when you weren't? The redhead. The only other person I know who is younger in that village was Sword Boy. So Sword Boy will probably be the Hokage now. I think we were already told who the Hokage of. I don't remember any of the village names, but the village that had the rapping guy, and his brother was Hokage. It'll probably be one of those aggro assholes who were we. So there's two or three of these aggro, super aggressive assholes we dealt with. It'll be one of them being the Hokage now. We might have already been told which one that is. I have a vague memory of that. It's been about a week since I watched any of this. Let's see. I'm terrible at this so far. You think Garb's still the Hokage of the Sand People? It's only been 15 years. He probably is. So he's probably still that Hokage. There's gonna be a couple legacy Hokages. Old man with the bad back. I'm sure he's retired by now. So somebody else will be there. Yeah, I don't remember the village names. I don't remember the character names. So this is pointless. But you get a vague idea of what I'm thinking. I think you should always be a mix of legacy characters and new characters we've never seen before. Maybe a family name is referenced, right? That would be cool. But you don't want it to all be legacy characters. Brienne said that why wouldn't I figure that the child of Sasuke and Sakura would be have a prominent role in this series? The reason I didn't think that was because you don't want to have all legacy characters. Boruto is already a legacy character. You don't want the other person getting main focus also being a legacy character or the children of legacy characters, right? So that's why I didn't assume that that would be the case. I thought she'd be a background character. And they'd be centering a couple people like Dinky, for instance. I thought was going to get major center because he's not a legacy character, right? But that's not what they're doing. Yeah, your uncle, huh? Garb is okay. So he, it is. This is a very West Virginia style universe here. Everybody's related to everybody. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You want to be a effing bureaucrat. They almost got me cussing. By the way, another thing Brad was talking about, like, yes, I get the the thematic relevance of her decision. I totally understand that. The fact he doesn't want to be Hokage when his father did, the fact she does want to be Hokage when her father didn't, I understand that, right? Like I get the thematic relevance of that. I just don't respect the job motivation. Like I never respected wanting to be a Hokage. I think it's a bureaucratic paper pushing role, right? So that's what I was expressing with her. I totally get the narrative purpose of it. I laugh at the fact you had to cheat and still didn't do as good. You really shouldn't. Shut the hell up. Blabbermouth. Of course, he's got a scheme. Why would you confide in that loudmouth? This kid is. Yeah, I would confide in. I wouldn't confide in the other one. Intelligence? Attention whore. So desperate for his father's attention, man. By the way, is it nighttime? Is that why it's darker? Yeah, that's why he wants to do it right now. Maybe they're in the shadows. It's not nighttime, they're in shadows. Okay. Everything's a drag to you. Well, do it alone like you always have to. Yeah, okay. They were in the shadows. Well, it should be her choice whether it comes out. Like, respect that. Jesus. Yeah, look at that evil look on her face. Yeah. That's what I'm saying, man. They nailed it. They do that a lot. Not gonna happen. You wouldn't ask her even if she did. Too bad she can't do the clones, right? Idiot. Why wouldn't you, man? I thought better of her. Eat my ass. That's my explanation. Oh, Jesus. Speaking of drama queens, which one is he? He's one of the aggro assholes, isn't he? Drama queen is what that is. Here we go. Nailed it. It was the only character possible. Like it was. You had a betting pool of one person. See, that's the problem when you're only using legacy characters. Sometimes you have very limited options, right? So I'm glad I nailed it. Who the hell is she? I've never seen her before in my life, which is good. I'm glad I nailed it, but like I wish I hadn't because I would like them to not have all legacy characters, right? Get some new blood in here, man. That's the whole point of the new series. Another drama queen. Yep. He's going to be a lifetime Hokage. Hey, remember when you were evil? the look at them. My God. They're their own little telenovela. She is a mess. Claim ticket? Is that how you have to get your photos processed? Jesus. That's pretty good. It is cute. I'm glad they took the time to do that for the 5 minutes he was around. Hell no. Yeah, you'll be done by the time I get back. See, that's a more accurate timeline. Somebody previously said 10. It's a new age, man. These five people used to fight each other. Their villages used to fight each other. So the fact they're standing together, that is a big deal. Yeah. Let me put my big fist in your face. Nice. Yeah. Oh shit. You got tricked again. Yeah. All's fair in love and war. Also, the other thing you'll say is fair is a place where you go buy pigs. Ah, shit. Incompetent. Hey, what the hell are you doing here? I heard all that loud noise. That's why he came over, I bet. Guess she had no choice but to confide in him. Yeah. Jesus, man. Was that necessary? Yep, we saw that. Yeah, that's the one that probably takes the most work. Yeah, right, right. You just, what do you mean, what is she talking about? You caught her falling out of a tree, you dumbass. Snitch. That's, she's like Hurley in Lost. You can't tell her shit. Obviously. Yep. I want to copy him in everything he does. Yeah. Yeah. Boruto don't give a shit. I think that's probably true. Look at him. But also, you don't want to be a paper pushing bureaucrat, like I said. Yep. Shouldn't you start like in middle government? Maybe you should try to be a council person first. Aspire to that. Be a party whip or something, you know? I don't really understand political ranks, but somewhere, something in the middle, right? I hate that they're wearing business suits, man. They've totally become industrialized. Sad to see it. Yeah, what we're really here for. Hey, he's busy, man. He can't even. Almost cussed again. He can't even be here for his own kid. He ain't gonna be here for you guys. Yep. And you guys are soft. Too much peace. That's where the alien came from. Yep. Imagine a whole planet full of them. Magic. Yep, and you guys, like I said, you guys are soft. You're not ready. Really. So, what you care about is having your face up there on the wall. You don't care about the actual job. Yep. Now you're going to stitch him out? Well, now you know. That's what I'm saying, man. Why would you bother them until you know something? Well, yep, you got to wear shades. I made that joke already. Or next week. No. Yeah, like I said, there'll be more week. People are getting soft. Yeah, man, they're soft. I see it. Yeah. These kids these days. Yep. Well, it's not about their genes. It's about expectations and experience, right? This moron. This is what he's spending his time doing. Yeah. I like the tiny rock attack. I'm contemplating. Yep. Yeah, I understand, but there's a bigger point here. That was different back then. People were at war with each other back when they were coming up. You could say that they wouldn't, live up to each other. Yeah, she's gonna kick his ass. Yeah, you just want attention. If you had some larger purpose ideology, that'd be fine. He's just doing this for attention, man. You talk about a load of crap. Yeah, kick his ass. Chase him down. Use your Sean or whatever again. Ah, shit, he's using clones. God damn him. She's gonna suss it out, though. Look at her. I doubt it. She's on to you, man. Stomp him out. Yeah, not bad. You're a good sparring partner. Yeah. Let's just hang out. Want to see a movie? Take my hand, you dick. Oh, shit. You dick. Wow, it's all manipulation. Cut his rope. Unbelievable. This is what we're dealing with, man. Soft ass generation. Attention seeking whore ass. Unbelievable. Yeah, lock him up. Yeah, cut his rope. That's what I'm saying. That's what I would have done from jump. He wouldn't have had time to paint anything. You dead as hell. What? They didn't show it, so it must be something really bad. Yeah, cut the effing rope. Hey, man, sometimes we gotta live with the consequence of our actions. Yeah, I get your metaphor. Here's the problem, okay? The problem is, and a lot of writers run into this issue, you have what seems like the perfect metaphor for what you want to actually talk about. Let's use the example of in Buffy, they use magic as a metaphor for addiction, drug addiction, right? So there's a character in Buffy who, in the early seasons, uses magic to help people. Save lives, do spells that solve problems that will save lives. But the more the character used the magic, the more they got addicted to use magic. Then they started using magic for dumb shit like party decorations and dangerous, reckless things like let me phase everybody out to another dimension for half a second so I can see if the person I'm looking for is in the room. That's dangerous, man. You could disintegrate their bodies. You could get them stuck in some other dimension. Maybe you couldn't get them back. I mean, there's all kinds of really horrible things that could happen. There's 100 people in this room, and you're talking about phasing them all out for half a second. Everybody who's not a 15-year-old girl, I think is what she said, because they were looking for a 15-year-old girl. Everybody who's not a 15-year-old girl, I'll phase out, and I can see if she's in the room. Man, that is a very reckless application of magic. Then she went even further. The character started actually jeopardizing lives with magic and just couldn't stop using magic. The whole thing was a metaphor for drugs. Here's the problem with that. Magic actually helps people in the universe, as demonstrated by the first few seasons of the series. If this character hadn't been doing magic, then they wouldn't have saved all these lives. Like, actual lives were saved with the use of magic. That doesn't apply to drugs. You're not saving anybody's life by using drugs unless it's like, they're going to die from shock or pain. There's a very limited use case where maybe you can save one life with the application of narcotics, right? Usually, like, there's very specific use cases for these narcotics. Otherwise, you're abusing them. So the metaphor, you see what I mean? The metaphor doesn't fit. Magic saves lives, so if you're doing the magic, you get addicted to it. It started in a good place. There is no good place to start when we're talking about drug addiction. Doing meth. Like there is no. Well, when I first started doing meth, I was saving all my friends, but then I used too much meth, and now I'm an addict, and I'm ruining all my relationships. That's a perfect example, and they teach this in writing classes now. That is a perfect example of the false application of a metaphor. It looks, when you first do it, when you first think about it, first blush, the first time I watched Buffy even, I thought, wow, that fits really well. Then I started thinking about it, right? And it dawned on me it doesn't work well, right? So it's a case where it's like, it seems like your metaphor is perfect for what you actually want to talk about, which is, drug addiction bad, and you can start off in a good place and end up in a bad place. And maybe some people get addicted to drugs because they're in a lot of pain, right? Like physical or emotional pain, and they're taking it just to self-medicate, and then it gets out of hand. So that kind of starts in a good place. You're just trying to avoid pain. Like, we can all relate to that, right? Like that. So that kind of starts, we'll say, a neutral place, and then goes into something bad. So it wasn't like, hey, I just want to be a party animal and destroy my life. You were trying to solve a problem with yourself, and it got out of hand. But really, the metaphor doesn't work. So you have to be careful when you're applying metaphors to your story, and that you don't get lost in the sauce and you don't go too far with it. That's what they did here. The metaphor that they're talking about here is every generation thinks the next generation isn't ready for the world. And they're like, and it's true, we all do that. These kids these days is a joke for a reason. Because in the 50s, they thought the kids from the 60s were idiots and, hippies and lazy and, no morals and all this stuff, when actually they're just trying to stop horrible things in the world happening. And then when the people in the 60s became parents, their kids didn't want to protest anything no matter how bad it was. And, there's a famous hippie who even killed himself because he couldn't handle the fact that today's generation, back then was the 80s, didn't want to protest anything. There was nothing they cared about. They wouldn't gather together and protest jack shit because they didn't care. So he, who knows why he actually killed himself, but he did kill himself shortly after having that conversation with other people, right? So, it's a thing where every generation thinks the next generation is weak and soft and is not equipped, and, we pamper them too much, and they're just dumb and lazy. That, for at least the past 150 years of Western society, that has been a recurring theme. Every generation thinks that about the next generation. I get it. I understand that. And that's worth commenting on. That's worth telling a story about. The problem here is you don't have the warfare and the strife here for these kids that in the very previous generation they did have, right? When Naruto was 12 years old, there was war happening. His village was being attacked by other villages. He didn't have parents because of the previous war. He wasn't the only one without parents. At least one parent, right, missing. So, first of all, if you grow up without parents or just one parent, you're a different kind of person. You're tougher. I grew up in an abusive childhood and an abusive household, and I am a tougher person for that. And if I had kids that would not grow up in an abusive childhood, and my kids would not be strong enough in the way that I am. Maybe they'd be strong in other ways. And there's no way I would abuse them to make them stronger. But what I'm saying is because I'm a very, very strong, very stubborn person, and that has helped me so much in life in so many different situations. If I hadn't been, run through so much hell as a kid, I would be a different kind of person. I wouldn't be tough. There are YouTubers who have quit YouTube because of all the nasty comments they get. And I'm here to tell you, and this isn't I'm not throwing out a challenge for people to make nasty comments. I'm just saying there is no comment anybody could ever make on YouTube that would make me quit. Because I heard worse than that when I was 8 years old. When I was 7 years old. When I was 6 years old. By a person in my life I could not get away from. Not by some random internet stranger. There is nothing you could say to me that I didn't hear when I was 6 years old. So how are you going to hurt my feelings? It's impossible. Because I was toughened up at a very young age because of the shitty situation I grew up in. So, you see what I mean? So if there's a generation that didn't have that abuse, they're not going to be tough in that way. They may be tough in other ways, but they're not going to be tough in that way. They will be affected by the YouTube comments because they didn't hear that shit when they were 5 and 6 years old. So, that's what I'm saying. This generation that we're seeing right now, Boruto and Sardicata, whatever her name is, and these others, they didn't have people attacking their village last week. They have both parents. This is not that. These things are not equivalent. This is not these kids these days because they grew up in a very different situation than the very previous generation grew up in. So there is a difference. You are softer, objectively, unequivocally softer than the previous generation, and it's all for the best. You want peace. You don't want villages attacking each other. But that is a fact. The previous generation could have handled this invasion from the aliens. We're going to call them aliens, just shorthand. Way better because they all were getting ninja training and they all were toughened by their situations and the expectation. You know, you every morning you woke up and maybe our village gets attacked today, you got to be ready. This generation has not had that expectation. They are objectively softer. So you see what I'm saying? The metaphor doesn't work because in this specific use case, you had a war just 15 years ago. And before you had that massive war, the Great Ninja War, you had all these small conflicts that were just happening over and over and over and over and over and over and over again for generations. People were forged in fire from the time they were 8 to 10 years old. So there is a difference. So that's where the metaphor breaks down. Because as soon as they started talking that shit, and I wish somebody would push back on with what I'm saying here. It's like, yeah, but every generation says that about the next generation. Yes, they do. But there is an exception for everything. And in this specific exception, this specific use case, there is a major difference, right? So there is an objective difference between this generation and previous generation. So you are screwed. And he's very right. The next generation will be even softer. Because they won't even have parents who went through a war. Even their parents have never been through a war. And boy, you're going to be screwed. They're just not ready. They won't be ready. And you know, if you're talking about an existential crisis, where you have 2 days of an invasion, and if you don't respond the right way, it's over. You get rolled over. That's it. It's a wrap. So that is a major issue. I'd be terrified if I was one of these Hokage. I do have a potential solution here. You have to toughen these kids up. You have to give them competitive fire, competitive spirit. You have to trick them into acquiring skills that can help them if you get invaded. And there's only 2 ways I can think to do that. Sports and a competition. And, you know, they may sound like the same thing, but it's kind of different. Like a spelling bee is different than sports, right? You either organize team sports that simulate the kind of actions you take in a real war, or some kind of competition, like a ninja competition, and whoever's best at being a ninja wins this grand prize. You get a lot of accolades, a lot of good PR, and riches, and whatever. And so the very act of entering this competition and achieving a high level, you will acquire the skills and some amount of experience that will help toughen you up and make you a little bit better prepared for this war, right? I once read a story where this city was occupied by an invasion force. And so they were not allowed to learn how to do the competitive magic the way they had been in previous generations that allowed them to fight wars. You know, so you're disarming the entire population. You can't let them use magic. There was one exception. They had an organized sports activity, kind of like football. And we won't get into all the details. But it's kind of like football, and they had to use this magic that used to be used for warfare, and the game kind of simulated warfare. You know how football kind of simulates warfare? You know, trench warfare and stuff like that. Kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like, it kind of does, right? So this competitive magic, you know, sports league was a secret way for the rebels to train a large group of young people in combat magic right under the nose of the invasion force. And the invasion force, the occupation force, would sit there and enjoy these games and would bet on these games, not realizing that all these people are being trained to fight against them. Right under their nose. We're not hiding in a warehouse training. We're doing it right in front of you, and you're eating popcorn and you're betting on these games. It was a stealth way, and they had done it for several generations. It was a long con. It was a long plan. For several generations, they had made this sport popular, and people, the occupation force, not only did they not try to shut it down, they enjoyed it. They loved, man, this is great. These games are great. This is very competitive. You know, I'm winning a lot of money. I'm enjoying it, all this stuff. Meanwhile, they're training each other to kick your ass right under your nose. So this isn't that because you know you don't have an occupying force, but it could be, you could trick the younger generation into training, the combat kind of training, because a lot of them don't seem motivated to be a ninja and go out there and acquire fighting skills. But what if you made it a game? What if you made a sport or some kind of competition you could win a prize? That's what I would do. You don't have a lot of time. I wish you had like a decade to set this up, and you do an annual event, and every year people get a little bit better, and it helps that generation. But they may have months, maybe a couple years. So, but you got to do something, right? You have to find some way to get more people interested in acquiring the kind of skills that can be used and transferred to defensive, capabilities.